Already surpassed my 2019 income in the first 7 months of 2020. I have clients that I work with all over the country. My clientele is growing. My communities are growing. I've had so much success in my business that I now coach other fitness entrepreneurs who want to grow their business. And I think that's the moment where things came full circle for me. And I finally realized, like, oh shit, we did it. So today I'm going to be sharing with you guys, I'm going to take you guys along on a little backstory on how Goal Getter Fitness even came to be. Kind of some ups and downs that I went through, times that I knew when it's time for me to kind of pivot. I wasn't even working in fitness. I was actually doing social media marketing consulting for a Fortune 500 company. And I was sitting there one day, and I always knew corporate wasn't for me. I always knew it, but I was just going along with it because I felt like that was a path I needed to get to be successful by the definition of other people who had influenced my life around me at the time. So there I was, and I had always had, let me just rephrase, let me rewind here. My love for fitness started when I was in high school, and when I went to college, I got my degree in health kinesiology from Purdue, got into training, fell on my face when I graduated college, and I went to go get a job that could pay the bills because I didn't believe fitness would be it for me. So I had long given up on a career in fitness in the first place. I didn't think it was in the cards for me. I thought I would struggle. I always felt like I couldn't make money doing what I love to do, so I had to go and do something else to be able to have the life that I want to have. So here I was sitting in corporate America, and it was probably about a couple of years into me being there, and I just felt so empty. I remember just thinking to myself, like, okay, yes, you can ride this corporate ladder, because that was definitely the track that I would have been on to do, or you can kind of go out on your own and just do your own thing. And at the time, I wasn't convinced that I was fully ready to do that quite yet. Kind of flirted with the idea. Meanwhile, people were always asking me for tips and things like that, and I just never really kind of went anywhere with it. Fast forward to me leaving corporate America, going for my MBA, and I decided then that I was going to start my business, but I was going to do social media marketing consulting. I remember months went by. I had 0 clients. I tried every strategy out there, right? I had coaches I was working with, and they would all tell me things like, oh, it's just going to take time, it's going to take time, it's going to take time. And I knew that it would, but something always felt off. And I remember one day I had a coach I was working with at the time, and she said, why don't you just go and work in fitness? Like, why don't you just go pursue fitness? And when she said it, I immediately thought to myself, well, I can't do that because, you know, everyone's going to think I wasted my MBA, and everyone's going to think that, you know, I'm no longer good at social media marketing. And I had all these blocks around it. I told myself, like, well, I'm no longer in shape. At the time, I wasn't competing. I had gained a ton of weight. And I was just like, well, no one's gonna take me seriously because I'm not anyone's idea of body goals right now. And I had just all this shit around as to why I didn't do fitness. I had all these reasons why. And I remember there was one day in particular where I realized that, oh shit, I'm gonna have to go get a job because I'm not making money in my business like I need to support myself. So I had gotten like a little retail job at one point. At another point, I had gotten a little admin job. So here I am working these like part-time jobs here and there. I even drove for Lyft for a little bit. I think the breaking point for me, the straw that broke the camel's back for me, was one Lyft ride. I will never forget it. This guy I picked up, I think he had something dead with him in his bag that he brought into my car. It was nighttime, so I couldn't see, and he got into the back seat. And I remember, like, that smell was so bad. I remember, like, getting sick after I dropped him off, and I drove home and just boo-hoo cried. I was in tears the whole time. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So that was my breaking point, and I realized then, like, okay, something has to give, because I know I gotta struggle, but this is just like, this gotta be a sign that this is just not, this is not the move. So while all that was going on, I had been letting my own self fall by the wayside. I was stress eating because I was so frustrated with where I wasn't in life that I was just eating my feelings. I was eating my emotions. I would look at my finances, I would get triggered, and I would eat. I would tell myself things like, oh, I'm too busy, and I had all these things that I was doing, right, to try and make this work over here. And I wasn't even allowing time for myself to work out. I wouldn't even allow time for myself to go take a walk, right? I'd take my dogs out, but that'd be it. And before you know it, all that caught up with me. And I remember one day I walked into my closet and I was living in Texas and it was hot as hell. And I tried on all these like loose sundresses, and even my loose stuff just like didn't really fit, and I just broke out into tears, right? And I was just like, okay, you know what? This business over here might not be going how it needs to go, but I need to do something like to make me better again. And I was starting to have like my family and my really close friends pull me aside and talk to me like, hey, we're concerned. Are you okay? Like I started going through depression, just anxiety, like just a lot of things mentally I was going through. And the people closest around me could really see it. So I knew something had to change. I'm like, okay, well, I'm still doing the social media thing. You know, I'm not fully ready to go into fitness yet, but I'm gonna start just sharing more about my journey to get back in better shape. And I'll kind of share with you guys where I was when I started then too. And what I found was that there were so many people who I was already connected to on social media who took an interest in that type of content. So I started sharing more and more. And then one day I got a DM from one of my girlfriends that I went to college with, and she was like, hey, are you still doing training? I'm all the way in Jersey, could you train me? And I'm just like, sure. Now, online training had never even come into my idea. Like that was never something I even considered, right? Because back when I was really working in fitness, this was like 2009, 2010, Instagram wasn't even a thing. Online training, it just wasn't there, right? You train in a studio, you train out of a gym, like that's just what you do. So when she said it, I'm like, sure, I guess. And I had a little bit of imposter syndrome kind of pick up and be like, oh, who are you to train her? You know, you out of shape yourself. How you gonna help someone you can't get your own struggles right? But I'm like, let me just see where this goes. She ended up getting really great results, and I remember at the top of the year, I was just like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna hit the ground running and just dive on in and give myself one full year to see just what the hell is going to happen. Oh my gosh. It was just like, everything just started to click. And when I tell you, like, nothing really changed that was all that drastically different, other than I was finally doing something that was just more aligned with what I should have been doing all along. So yes, when I first started out, I'm not saying I had people beating down my door to work with me and pay me money. I had to work to get to, you know, the level that you guys see me at right now. But the process was so much faster. And it was almost like I would look up and each month became my next biggest month in business. Like I kept surpassing my income month after month after month. And now here we are at 2020. It's been the same thing year after year after year. I've already surpassed my 2019 income in the first 7 months of 2020. I can say that I have a profitable business. I have clients that I work with all over the country. My clientele is growing. My communities are growing. I've had so much success in my business that I now coach other fitness entrepreneurs who want to grow their business. And I think that's the moment where things came full circle for me. And I finally realized, like, oh shit, we did it. Like it just all kind of hit at that point, and all the shit that I went through, everything that I went through, from having to take these jobs that I absolutely hated, but I needed them to pay the bills because I wasn't bringing in any income, to the debt that I went into, then had to work my ass off to pay off, to everything. And none of this would have happened had I not gotten out of my own head and gotten over my own shit about me not feeling like I was enough to actually do this, and I didn't have what it took to actually make this happen. There's something that you know that you absolutely love to do that just lights you up on the inside, and you have that get up and go about you, because entrepreneurship is no cakewalk, okay? When you're your own boss and you building something from the ground up, you're gonna put in some work. But if you know it's something that really just lights you up on the inside, your longest days, you wouldn't trade for the world of working for someone else and doing something that you know just doesn't really kind of serve. There's always going to be someone out there who had an idea that you had, who's already doing it, who is more popular, who has a bigger following, a bigger clientele, more income. Don't let that stop you. Go for it anyway, because I guarantee you the only way that you'll ever get to where they are is if you start with right where you are today.